Oh, who is this? I tell you what, this is an AI, bro. Welcome to the Ronin Radio. We are back, bro. I'm excited for this one today. Atia's Legacy Part 2 has dropped as of last week, and I've been having a lot of fun on this game. We're at a building in public, and we are lucky today because we have two people inside in the mix, and we're gonna get to find out a lot about what they are seeing with Atia's Legacy, the playtest. I'm seeing a lot of people expand to content elsewhere. I like it. Salute to you lot. I'll be there supporting. But today's show, ladies and gentlemen, we have Cruz from Sky Mavis, publishing lead. A lot of questions that we do have, but it's really going to be interesting to hear his side of things. You know, this is an endeavor that is very, very important to the Axie ecosystem. And if we're being honest, Axie is fundamentally so far ahead of anything in this industry, right? And right now we have live playtests we are building in public. Another surprise for you today. G-Host is in the building, so we'll get to talk with him. Always a great time. And another surprise. This is Bat Ronke. All right, that's it. Just I'm Bat Ronke. There. Any questions? Hablo. Okay. On top of that, the special character that is not unlocked yet. We are about to unlock him. A great friend in this ecosystem. Axie has allowed me to meet people all across the globe, and this is one of the greatest. Mr. Gunlock is in the building. You know what? Let's throw him up because I'm not real. I'm an AI, so we need a real human here. And Gunlock is in the building. And welcome to the Ronin Radio, brother.
Hey, what's good? All right, let me throw in the shirt. There we go.
Wait, you got that much? Oh yeah. Nah, looking good, feeling good. How are you?
I'm doing good, Mr. Bats. I'm gonna call you Mr. Bats because you are Mr. Bats, right? You are Bruce banned from this fucking shit. But we are live tonight. Ronin Radio. I'm coming up. I'm being unlocked. It's G Unlocked tonight. And yeah, we're gonna have some fun.
Yeah, for sure, bro. I know you've been playing. I've seen you in servers, talking about the game, giving feedback, and also, just sharing your experiences that you've had on there. So an exciting one for you personally as well, right? We want to take this game to the heights that we want to see Axie go to. Thoughts from yourself, just real quick. How has the playtest been for you?
Top one of the Lantern users. That's me. I'm the top of the leaderboard for the Lantern users. No one else is on top that is using Lantern, okay? So I may be a top 30-ish right now overall, but no one else is using Lantern. So that's my bragging rights right there. So yes, I've been grinding. I've been playing the game and providing feedback and all that good stuff. And basically building together with the Axie community.
W's, man. Well, shining a light on the show today for the first time. I'm glad to have you here, bro. You've done commentary work in the past in Axie. Perfect man for the set. So welcome, bro. It's a big show for your first one. Holy shit. Put it, I don't know if you, it's like England football. I don't know what, you get a cap. Here's your cap. You got your first ever cap on the Ronin Radio. It's awesome. With G-Host and Cruz. So without further ado, let's bring through the powerhouses. Really excited, like I said, to talk to Cruz today. And it's the first time I think we've probably been on together. So G-Host and Cruz, welcome to the Ronin Radio. Big times. How are you guys doing, man? Welcome.
Hey guys, excited to be here. Yeah, I think I've never been here before. I don't even know if I've met you guys. So yeah, excited to chat Axie, Atia's legacy with Geo's here. So yeah, should be fun.
Gio's cooking, bro. You got a brand new desk there. At least Katara's on there.
Yeah, yeah, I had to take the freaking contraband off my desk.
Zins, get him. Nah. Put him in, bro.
Nice.
Put him in. We need to lock in for today's show. So a Zin or two might be might help. But first and foremost, yeah, Cruz, we've never had you here on the show before. So welcome. It's a pleasure. Uh Publishing lead at Sky Mavis, and I think a lot what I have noticed over the last few months is you guys are really stepping up. Um Public facing as well. So we're really happy to have you here today and have a conversation. I think for a lot of people, they may not know who you are and the role that you do serve. So I think it's a good point to start today's show on just finding a little bit more about yourself, Cruz. So the floor is yours. What is it that you do, and who is Cruz, man?
Yeah, no, it's great. So I joined 2022 right after Origins launched, and I was kind of the Origins game lead for a little bit, and then as kind of Pixels and the Ronin network expanded, uh, I switched gears and was working with a lot of our Ronin game partners, with all of the founders and all the teams, integrating them stuff to the Ronin tech stack and to a lot of the Sky Mavis tools. And then as Atia's legacy started ramping up and getting bigger and bigger and bigger, the company wanted me to put my hat in the ring and kind of lead the game and take it to where it needs to go, work with the community, work with Geos and a lot of our team internally. So I'm functionally kind of like a product manager, game lead person to coordinate a lot of the troops here, make sure that we're hearing from the community through things like this. We're building the right game. We're building the right game that hits the right economic beats, hits a lot of the good gameplay beats, that when this game is ready to be shipped into the public, that we're all pretty confident. We have a lot of confidence that the thing that we've built over the last year or so is going to be pretty sick. So a lot of my function now is day to day working with the GR tickets, working with the engineers, working with the artists, working with the designers, the community people, making sure that we're building the right things at the right time, and we're communicating everything so everyone knows what's going on. And I've been pretty stoked. People have been really enjoying this playtest, like surprisingly a lot more than I expected. It's a lot more stable than I expected. I was a little worried going into launch day, but we're a lot. Our team's a lot better than I gave them credit for. So I'm glad things are looking pretty good and people are having a lot of fun. And some of these leaderboard runs are kind of nutty, and a lot of people have been grinding this game out, which has been warms my heart. So yeah,
It's one of the focuses today. Actually, is to shine light on Dojo. Shout out to the Dojo. If you've been playing the playtest and you haven't come across the Dojo yet, this is your call sign to do so. Yeah, like Cruz has mentioned, the leaderboards are in there. The stakes on the line right now. BAXS being distributed through a playtest, man. Like, we've definitely come a long way from part one to the playtest, and the incentive drivers are massive. A lot of questions later in the show where we are going to really hone in on Atia's legacy. But one thing I wanted to talk about as of right now, and G-Host, this is directed, for yourself, but this is a pivotal moment for Axie. The second playtest out, people are now starting to really understand, oh, okay, Axie is coming with this MMO game, right? We're doing it stage by stage. Combat is still the focus. But as a whole, BAXS has been doing really, really well. You've mentioned it in a Lunacia Lounge recently, but this is a pivotal moment. Like, how does it feel right now in the camp, and where's your confidence at with Axie right now?
We're off to a strong start for the year. I got here in January, and I do see the energy, the velocity picking up, right? So this year we need to really nail two things, right? We need to progress with the gameplay, and then we also need to make sure that it's actually having a tangible impact on the economy, right? So you saw us open the year with a flurry of kind of education around BAXS, because if we make an amazing game, but we still have a lot of the loopholes and perverse, or let's say perverse, or not finely tuned incentives, right? No matter how good the game that we build is, we may still attract the wrong audience. We may still incentivize the wrong behaviors, right? So we needed to set the stage with that kind of first flurry of arrows around, okay, this is the year of economic balance, reset, right? And so that was an important kind of opening salvo with the BAXS. And then at the same time, right, we have, we want to execute on the playtest. We want to execute on terrariums. And Axie does its best work when, right, things are looking bleak for the industry, right? That's our bread and butter. That's where we feel, comfortable. Obviously, I would love it if we were always in, an amazing market, amazing macro climate. But, for us, like, we have to control what we can control, which is making the right bets, building consistently, shipping relentlessly. And yeah, I said in December that, I think 2025 was kind of like a transitional year for Axie, where you kind of saw us pivoting, right? We announced the MMO and we had a decent first playtest. I think that was okay, but I think overall 2025 was maybe underwhelming in a sense, where in terms of actual concrete shipping, I think there was a lot to be desired, right? So, and we definitely want to be more aggressive in 2026, and I think that's showing through so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck. I know you're a fan of gameplay. Atia's legacy is bringing that gameplay. I want for you the transition, right? Part 1 to part 2, we've changed. We're now a single Axie. Maybe elaborate on some of the thoughts that you have as a player, and then we can talk, a little bit with Cruz about those changes and what that was like making those changes.
Yeah, I guess the question that I have in this regard is, like, what was the catalyst? Because we went from single player, multiplayer Axie or multi-Axie, and then the autoplay, right? And we are now transitioning to this new game mode, single player. The movement is really fluid compared to how it was in the first playtest. But talk to us about, like, what was the catalyst of that? Because the change is massive, right? From multi-Axie to single Axie. So what was, like, the catalyst of the that change? If we can touch on that one, Cruz.
Yeah. Honestly, the catalyst was the playtest itself. Like, in a lot of discussions, interviews, focus groups, we had a pretty interesting idea where it's like, what if we had more Axies? One of the big tenets for the game is, like, you need to have a lot of Axies. People with, like, strong Axies and interesting team comps are gonna do really well and benefit. And throughout the experience, there was a big clamoring for, like, co-op party play, where we're like, oh, this is really cool, but when do I get to play with my friends? We knew that was going to be a case, but that was something that was a lot louder than we thought. And we're like, all right, cool. Now if we had squads, but it was like the 4 of us here in one party, that's a lot of Axies on screen. Technically, like, we tried some internal builds to see if that would work. It was a lot. It was chaotic. Older phones would explode on impact. So we're like,
even Supercell, right? Like, so the thing is, like, the weird thing about the squad-based combat is actually it wasn't totally unprecedented, because actually Supercell had Squad Busters, which was kind of similar, but Squad Busters failed, right? And a lot of the reason that I believe that it failed was that the multiplayer combat just felt a little too all over the place and chaotic, right? Where it didn't really feel that intuitive in terms of the movement and the control, because you basically had the same issue that we kind of had, which is that basically you're not controlling. You obviously cannot control all of your Axies, so you're basically controlling, like, the center of gravity of your unit, and then you're just kind of, right, like, controlling the gravitational exerted force of your chaotic little squad or army, which, right, that's not necessary. That's not a proven, right? That's not really proven, and we didn't feel strongly enough like, oh, Supercell missed something with this not being good enough, right? And two, right, it's like it really, I think, as Cruz is kind of talking about here, is that it kind of like definitely limited the scope of what we could do on mobile for something like PvP.
Yeah, honestly, that was a big catalyst. Like Supercell, biggest mobile game maker in the West, dropped like $150 million with their top IP, and it's dead. And that kind of happened between playtest 1 and playtest 2. And I talked to some people that I know people in the space, and they've echoed a lot of what Jiho was mentioning, where it's like, hey man, like they tried. If they can't make it work, it's going to be hard pressed for us to make it work. So let's not try to reinvent the wheel. What combat do we know makes sense? What combat do we know works? Opens up a lot of opportunities, and then we kind of rebuilt this to do this. And now we're ready for a lot more interesting PvP. We're ready for a lot more interesting co-op party play, which we're working on and I'm pretty excited to share. So yeah, I think we're at a good place for the next few builds, the next few playtests.
Yeah.
Yeah, the PvP. Oh, sorry to cut you off, Mr. Bat Franke.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I guess what I really like about this build is the dash, and I think one of the annoying things that you guys put up in this build is the dashing chicken, the big chicken that dashes a lot.
Yeah.
just go after your dash as well. But yeah, I think there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can integrate, I guess, in the PvP sense. And I feel like there's a direction or there's an angle here where you can lead off onto having a MOBA at some point, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe I'm just guessing here.
Yeah, I hear that a lot, and obviously with our player base, that's a big thing. And obviously MOBAs are very big and expensive to build. But yeah, I think if we had interesting MOBA-like PvP elements and MOBA type experiences, that is really cool. And again, like we're set up for that now. Our PvP kind of looks MOBA-y, like a little. So if that's something that's working, if we can find ways that make sense economically, that's not off the table. So yeah, all that feedback is super helpful.
Yeah.
Awesome.
A lot of exciting premises are set with this playtest. Just a lot of game building is to do with the assets, getting them all together, having it work fluidly. It working visually, but also mechanically as well. And just seeing what we have from the playtest, like there's so many avenues that present themselves. So I think we're in a really good position in that regard. Cruz, I was interested as well because we have research going down before we do shows, and hearing your colorful history in the industry of like game publishing. I was just wondering from your perspective, the industry at large and as a whole right now, if you look at that, do you see opportunity for the game that Atia's legacy is shaping out to be? Is there a gap? Is there a real gap in the market for something like this?
Yeah, honestly, like it's not necessarily a good thing, but the fact that a lot of the gaming and mobile industry is kind of imploding in on itself for a lot of different reasons, like naturally leaves us a gap, right? Right now, distribution is king. Right now, a lot of new games are failing on impact. A lot of new games globally just like can't find traction. People are sticking to existing games. The majority of time played is from games built 10 plus years ago. So even though Atia's legacy is a new game, we do find ourselves as an incumbent as far as IPs go. Like we're having this conversation because Axie is a global IP with a huge amount of users, with a huge amount of like cultural and like game impact, which we think is going to be really advantageous for us to keep working on this, build it and ship it, because a lot of games won't have that brand identity, especially globally, right? Like some games are only big in Asia, some games are only big in the West. Actually, is one of the few IPs that are actually super strong in a lot of the top geos. So I think from our end, like outside of the blockchain space, outside of what we got going on with Web3 innovation, dollar for dollar with our IP angle and how we can distribute the game, we have a lot of advantages going on here. And again, it's helpful that a lot of other games are, not, it's kind of mean to say, but they're going out of business. A lot of studios just can't find a right footing, where we know that we have a committed Axie community for so many years, right? So that is, I think, puts us in a pretty good spot for the next year to come.
Absolutely. And I think this is one of the strengths and like one of the reasons I was confident in Axie in the early phases was this air of connection, right? As a player, as an owner, was connection to the experiences that we would get, right? And this is the most in play that we've had building in public, right? Um, I think it's a huge strength to be able to do that. There aren't many games that are capable to do that. There aren't studios that are performing in this manner right now. So that in of itself is like a gap being filled. Like we'll be able to look back on these processes and be like, okay, look, we built things in public openly, and the game essentially can be an ever evolving experience. Do you think about that, like, and how much or how difficult is it that we're not really ever in a set in stone setting? It's definitely an enhancement, but it can maybe feel like a hindrance at times. Like you never have firm ground. Do you feel like you're finding firm ground?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. I think the biggest difference between us and a lot of game builders is that Axie Infinity like exists as an ecosystem. Whether we're building Atia's legacy in public or in private, the Axie economy and the Axie system chugs along, right? So we're really incentivized to build in public, where we're building alongside the people who are committed. They're playing on their codex, they're doing their bounties, they're like engaging with a lot of the Axie features that are happening. In another world where maybe this is a brand new IP that doesn't have things happening on chain, that doesn't have existing users, maybe it might make more sense, to your point, of just like building a little more in private so we can iterate a little faster. But like the cat is out of the bag. Axie is already a global phenomenon. Like we can't pretend like we could sit in a corner and build by ourselves and not pretend like we have a huge community right outside the door trying to help us. So I think the pros outweigh the cons here, building in public. Like, and I mentioned before, I joined a little bit after Origins was launched. I joined Sky Mavis, and there was a lot of learnings that we had, like in retrospect from that, even at the time when I joined, where it's like we wish we had a little bit more building in public, and we wish we took this approach that we're taking with the Tias now, where we took a few more play tests, we like challenge a bunch of paradigms that we're looking into, really like refine every part of the game before we get too entrenched in it. And then we don't want to get to the point where 9 months down the road we're like, man, we went all in on the squad based combat, and if you want to change anything, we got to go back to the drawing board for a year, and we're not going to do that. So now every step of the way, we challenge every assumption, we validate it with the community, we validate it with our data before we progress. So I think, sure, it's a little bit more complicated, and it's a very non-trivial or non-traditional way to build games. But even so far, between playtest 1 and playtest 2, we're seeing a lot of gains by doing it this way. So it's pretty exciting.
I think it's that time to break tradition in this industry.
Yeah.
I think it's a way of building, right? I think that we were relatively early to, right, in the early days, and I think it's becoming more common. I mean, I think the only indie devs that do well, it's like because they're able to find different ways of almost doing marketing and kind of pre-release comms and kind of like following the journey, stuff like that, right? And I think that's becoming a bit more of a trend in indie dev. And I think we were, I think we're definitely early in pioneers when it came to stuff like that.
Yeah.
A ton of things, as we're seeing right now, gameplay by an absolute scrub, by the way. But 5 new weapons, right? A whole load of change. We spoke about the team combat going to single combat. But I'm sure there are a lot of inspirations that go into the building. You can take feedback from a community, but you kind of have to have a starting point, right? I was interested to talk about maybe some of the heavy influences around, gameplay and the combat direction with Atia's legacy.
Yeah, so a lot of this is we were trying to find what are the best kind of like MMO ARPG type things that exist on mobile. Like as we've talked a lot about in the past, we wanted to make sure this is mobile first, and ideally we fix some of these bugs where more phones can play the game without exploding, which is keep that feedback going. We're gonna fix it. the big things that we're talking about were some big inspirations was Moko, like another Supercell game that's like doing pretty well. We were all pretty jazzed about how they can kind of distill MMORPGs into mobile bite-sized sessions. We know that a lot of more traditional old school MMOs aren't doing super well, even the new ones that are being released, where if the combat is like either too boring or if the play sessions are too long or things are a little bit more sandboxy and require users to play lots and lots and lots of hours before they ever get to interesting parts. That model for new IP and new games isn't necessarily working as well as it should. And people are kind of reverting back to the older games, once again, that have existed for 10, 20 years. So we're modeling this game after some of the more new, interesting mobile games that we've been finding with interesting combat, shorter play sessions, more dynamic second-by-second movement. Like the dash is just the beginning. We have a few more different ideas for ways to do interesting movement and utility tied to different like parts and different equipment. So those is a to answer your question, it's a hodgepodge of a lot of things. But the biggest thing is we kind of know what is not working in the space, and we're mostly just trying to avoid that. And so the design space of where we're actually going to go is pretty wide. Like we have a lot of other different innovations that we're testing. Like even right now, the idea of strafing, of attacking while moving is something that we had an idea for, and now we're going to get that. Now that's in the build. I believe that's in the build.
It's going live.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah. So that'll be another test where it's like, hey, does that feel cool? Does that change the second by second gameplay in interesting ways? So yeah, a lot of fun things that we're going to be testing here.
We're releasing a balance patch like imminently, actually. Like you can kind of think of it as a balance patch. Like we're like changing. We want to see people testing some of the other weapons, so kind of buffing some of the stuff that's less strong. And I think adding in some new movement dynamics, basically like it might make it easier to kite, but we're also gonna tune the mobs so that it hopefully doesn't get too much easier.
Lantern needs to be buffed, man. Like there's only one Lantern in the top 30, and that's me. So
yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I like the cults that are forming around specific weapons. That's it's nice.
Salute community, man. You guys always find a way.
Yeah.
all right, you mentioned something about the strafing part, right? Isn't that somewhat like buffing or indirectly buffing arrows or bows again? I mean, they are filling the top 50 already.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the nerf. Let me look at the patch notes. I'm pretty sure we're nerfing bow also.
Oh, okay.
In addition,
bows are getting nerfed. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, you heard it here first. So sell all your bows. Just kidding.
Yeah, imagine how interesting this thing gets when we are at that phase. I do have like a curiosity around, just economically, right? We only have combat right now. The game experience isn't tying into anything beyond that. We have the grinding sessions, the dungeon crawling. You guys added this risk element as well to this playtest, so you can gain inventory, you can lose inventory. So these are really cool mechanics. But as a whole, like, how do you guys think about assets, in this world, in Atia's legacy? We haven't really heard much about that, and I guess I'm not asking anything directly, but if there is, thoughts and things you guys feel confident about sharing, it'd be really interesting to hear that conversation.
Yeah, Gio, I can go first. And so we actually were trying to build out a way to make more on-chain things happen in this build, just to kind of test things out. One really cool innovation that we have now versus what we had even last year was like the BAXS portion of having app tokens and interesting ways to do on-chain things that have also off-chain constraints, if you know what I mean. That technology and that innovation can make a lot of what we're doing inside the game more feasible and less exploitative, and allow us to do more interesting and innovative things without a lot of fear of it destroying economies and whatnot. Unfortunately, we couldn't get some of those things into this build, but there are a bunch of even though you're wagering or risking off-chain virtual items, which might not be the best proxy for people's risk propensity for on-chain things, the systems are at play. We do want to test out some of those things because we do think there's a lot of interesting things to be done there. And then as far as like, all right, is equipment going to be on chain? What's going to be on chain? What's going to be off chain? How is it going to be on chain? How are they going to be minted? A lot of those details are being discussed right now. Like we don't have any concrete plans, so there's nothing for us to leak. But as of right now, most of that is on the table to see that once we see how interested people are in these certain aspects, we'll probably try to, again, test them out piecemeal to see what works, what doesn't work, what makes the economy interesting, and not just be Web3 for the sake of being Web3. And so some of those things are going to be coming in some of the upcoming playtests.
If I could put on a feedback directly here regarding that, I think taking a note from what Ragnarok Landverse is doing in terms of like the equipment might be a good idea in terms of, especially for, because you're risking right now the tier 3 that you buy from the shop, right? And then in exchange to trying to get tier 4, and maybe there's like an element somewhere down the line where you integrate crypto or Web3 technology on it, or putting it on chain so that we can get the tier 4s on chain or something like that. But yeah, I think there's a lot of possibility there.
That's a really good idea, and a lot of what we're talking about internally. When we'll tell more when those deals are solidified. There's one of those things where, like, just like in a lot of those MMOs, how valuable is it that every single common material is on chain and people are transferring 1 million common bows or whatever? Not super exciting. It's kind of volume for the sake of volume, which is not a bad thing. But yeah, we would want to start with a few select things to be on chain and really refine those parts of the economy before we expand it to the whole economy. Also, rest in peace, Stage 7. That was a good run.
Oh my God, John Locke, my pilot is not doing so well.
the scrub comment got to him, bro. He was cooking for a little bit. That's for sure.
He was just trying to mop everything and trying to snipe them all out. Oh man.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Trying to go for that times trial.
Sorry, not gonna cruise. You said it could be good, to have volume for volume shake. In some ways, yes, on-chain metrics, those types of things, great. But there's so many weights in which need to be balanced for the experience to really work. And one of those things that I'm very confident in, now through experience in this industry and things that have happened, in the past and things that are working right now, if there are, items that are inaccessible in game without like a ton of effort, and those things are available on chain, like the demand for those is always going to be there. And the common items, yes, there's involvement, they count for something, but they are strictly kind of in-game assets that you sell in game for an in-game currency or another material that allows you to craft things. Like creating those loops are really important. So the fact that you guys are already thinking about those things, and take an example from things like Ragnarok as well is a good idea. So it's a great suggestion. Good luck. I did think about the reward system for playtesters right now. We have BAXS on the leaderboard, and it's encouraging a ton of gameplay. Jatster, shout out to Jatster in the chat. He mentioned, a few players are averaging 8 hours playtime, which is
Jatster is the dev.
Yeah.
Jatster is the dev of Axie Dojo, right? Or the main dev, I guess I would say. And he's literally on my team, right? So that's another cool thing. It's another cool thing that we're seeing, right? Like in terms of, right, like Sky Mavis shipping, it's like literally anyone can now ship, right? Where, we can also build things now as the growth team, as people that are more, sometimes we're in the trenches, but we always wanted to build stuff to kind of sometimes express our ideas or build things that we thought would be needed, but we're afraid to kind of ask for dev resources. And you don't want to necessarily just, okay, sometimes we'll give the idea to community developers, but that's more of like a hobby type of thing. So yeah, that's been really interesting to see. Maybe I'll just say some notes on maybe the economy, I've noticed myself, I think one interesting thing is that, right, like Emmanuel or Cruz and I have also been really involved in the Ronin Games publishing, right? So we've kind of seen what's actually been working over the last couple of years. And the common thread and theme, right, has been this idea of risk, right? People call it risk to earn. We don't need to like just call everything X to earn, right? We can just call it, right, this element of risk and real stakes. And so that was, something that was important for us to kind of test out, even if it wasn't on chain, but to start testing out and seeing how people felt about that idea. And in this test, one of the things that I'm also thinking is that, yeah, like me as someone who doesn't have as much time because I gotta work, I can't be grinding, for those leaderboard spots. I do wish that I could, right, just like buy some of the best equipment. Oh, like the badge, right? Like I saw that there's a badge now. There's a badge you guys should be aware for, completing hardcore level 10. So I'm like, yo, I need to do that, right? So I wish, right, like I just buy some of the tier 4 mystic items. And yeah, like if I buy it, that should be from another player, right? And whether that's on chain or off chain, Cambria is also an interesting example where, right, they have this like kind of off chain in-game auction house, I guess, for almost everything, right? So I think there are definitely a lot of ways, different directions we can go in when it comes to basically facilitating that player-to-player exchange around the economy. But I think the first, one of our game designers told me today, right, is like the first is you got to make like a game that people love and that people are actually willing to risk for, and that people like are interested in buying the stuff for. And then, right, it's facilitating that market. It just becomes a technical challenge. The hardest part is actually creating that emotional desire to actually buy something, which can only come from, right, creating the right loops, making, something that people actually really care about.
Yeah, there's a huge opportunity for an IP that already has this sentimental attachment, this history for a lot of people.
I think that's the crazy thing about Axie, right? Is like the only thing in crypto that that's still around that people can be sentimental about. Like people can be sentimental about a lot of things that are no longer around anymore, right? But it's really, especially in terms of gaming, the only thing that's, kind of that people can basically have that type of nostalgia for, and it's only going to increase over time, right? So yeah, there are Axie babies that were born in 2021 that are going to be able to play Atia's Legacy soon, right?
It's crazy. That's crazy to say. I think as
there
well.
are people playing this in the hospital. I don't know if maybe I got baited on that one, but
I think you got baited on that one.
I may have gotten baited, but I believe that there are also people playing Atia's Legacy in the hospital. At the at the brink of recovery.
It's getting them back on their feet. But yeah, no, definitely interesting because you'll have a game as well where you'll have new fandom, right? That comes through this great game, and then they get influenced and interacting with, the Axie community as of, today, and all the people that have been in Axie before. I'm really looking forward to the game itself being another great catalyst piece for Axie as a whole. So everything to do with the playtest so far really has been combat focused. One thing we do like doing here is digging where maybe we shouldn't, or maybe we can't, but we still nonetheless will dig. Beyond combat, I think it's interesting for a lot of people to maybe hear or get a glimpse into other aspects of this game. Now, I guess the question loosely will be around, is there further development? Are there other areas of this game already built out? Are those tests going down? And I guess the vision from playtest 2 onwards, we look towards playtest 3. Um, will we be seeing combat again? Will combat still exist? And will we get additions? What do you guys see as almost the roadmap for this building process?
Yeah, I think we might have mentioned a little bit in the last lounge, but I'll worth reiterating here. The path for the next, at least for the next few months, is going to be just refining. This is the single player combat, and then the next playtest, which should be coming out. Well, we'll send a closer date, but not too far in the future, would be PvP, taking the same system. What does it look like online? Is it laggy? Is it good? Is it interesting? And what that turns into is for the next playtest after that. So let's say playtest 2 is this one: combat, dungeons, risk. Playtest 3, PvP, real-time online multiplayer. Playtest 4 is our party co-op based system. What if we're doing what we're doing right now, but in a party, in a group? Bosses, they're actually designed for multiplayer. We just didn't get it in for this build. Does that feel interesting? Does that feel cool? Does the idea of risk change when you're playing in a group? Does different people's risk profiles make those questions interesting of when do I extract, when do I go forward, and some of the game features around that? And so that will be kind of the end of this combat era, I guess. Once we've nailed down, hey, multiplayer PvP feels good, multiplayer, like these raids feel interesting and they're good, that is going to be the core bulk of the game. And if we can't get that down, then we might as well throw away the fishing and the farming and all the other stuff. But once that's nailed down, we do have a lot of the specs for what we want to build outside of the combat loop. So stuff that you find in traditional MMOs, like fishing, farming, jump rope, cooking, deeper crafting, that stuff kind of exists in different portions. But we kind of know, like, for example, fishing, that is a relatively known quantity. Like, there's not a lot to test. It's like, if fishing, there's not a lot of ways that you can change how fishing goes, right? So once we've nailed down a lot of these big questions, a lot of those smaller pieces will enter the puzzle. One other real big benefit that we have is, if you guys are following the Axie Terrarium system, so Shade and the Terrariums team is doing a lot of interesting things to test out what you would traditionally find in an MMORPG, but happening at the website layer. And so there's going to be a lot of experimentation and a lot of innovation happening on that end, which will really inform which of those pieces should exist on the web via app.axie Infinity, which of those should exist within the game client. And the one coolest, biggest boon that we have working on this game is when things are on chain, you can build out these portions in different parts and it all connects together and fluidly and interoperably. I used to always think interoperable was really cool when you can have other games from other franchises come in, but the real boon is now we can have multiple games on different platforms from different teams that are all connected in one economy in really interesting and innovative ways. Yeah. So once the Terrarium team gets to iterate a lot of those cool side features that you would normally find in MMORPGs, that'll teach us a lot about what we need to have really cool 3D high fidelity experiences inside the game. So yeah, in short, it's going to be combat, really nailing that down for the next few months. Once that's down, then we'll announce what's going to be next, and it'll be more of a quests and all of those things. But yeah, good question.
Yeah, and we're opening up lore as well through the codex itself.
Yeah.
Imagine. So one thing that I was imagining today and thinking about, right? I don't know, just worth kind of imagining together is, right? Like, so I have these loadouts, right? I have this equipment. You can think of it as a loadout. It actually is even called a loadout. And so you're thinking about this loadout, right? Right now, the loop is, okay, you find the items, right? You risk, as Gunlock was saying, you risk tier 3 items to get tier 4 items. And yeah, that's okay. That's an interesting, small little loop. But imagine a loop where, the best items you can actually only craft from certain recipes. items, right? But maybe, right, like the base components, right, like will drop, but then it's like, okay, right, you have to participate in these other professions to actually turn this item into its right true form, right? And then, right, like you start to open up the ability for different archetypes of players to exist within this economy because not everyone is going to be like super hardcore, right? Some people are going to be uh, not everyone's going to be super hardcore on the combat side or teaming up to destroy others in the arena, right? You still need to have that kind of crafting profession type of system, right? So imagine having to work with crafters to upgrade your item to its max potential, right? When you think about, oh, how do we integrate NFT assets without making it too pay to win? Well, right, maybe only certain crafting recipes are create things that Mystic Axes can create. Maybe right certain items can only be created right by people who own land or a certain type of land, right? So I think the thinking about like the crafting and the economic side of the loadout system also offers us ideas around the integration of some of the potential NFT utility, right? That's where my mind space is, and that also kind of ties into to Cruz's comments on right wanting to stay very closely in line with the terrarium team, right? And to see where the crossover elements kind of exist.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump on the imagine part where the Geo mentioned, right? What if, Geo, you can also have runes from Origins or stuff in Axie Classic tie back into the stuff that you guys are building into Atia's Legacy, right? Like
We
a
could
web.
even use crafting ingredients from other fucking ecosystems, right? 'Cause you're like, oh, this game rugged me. Oh, guess what? Like, all you guys need some utility for your stuff. Boom. This is actually the original vision for crafting in the Axie universe. To be honest, if you go back to I wrote a 2018 article about, right, like, yeah, we can, right, create these crafting. We need a Roger cube, right? Because we can create these crafting recipes that basically, can create a sink for anything in the Axie universe. But if you can also create a sink for something that's dead, right? Like we're like, yo, we wanted to use CryptoKitties in the original Axie crafting materials to basically, right, like suck the rest of their community out, right? And we kind of accomplished that in other ways by being like, hey, if you have CryptoKitties, we'll give you Axies, right? That's kind of the way that it actually manifested because we didn't have the ability to kind of build like a complex crafting system at the time. But yes, like you're kind of thinking in the right direction.
Yeah. I'm thinking in my imagination station as well, like just analogies of the whole thing, right? Like
I mean, like Roger Cube is like so much of what made Diablo 2 a real money economy. So guess what? Like everyone will be like, "Oh, Diablo 3, the real money auction house didn't work out. Why are you making a game built on a real money economy?" The reason that Diablo 3's real money auction house didn't work is because there's no Roger Cube and because there was no PvP in that game. And that's my I don't know, hot take or whatever. And that's
a good take.
Common game designer I don't know. It's like a cliche to say that, but that's my take on right. Like a crafting system, crafting economy, and like intense PvP. These are actually the things that are needed to drive real money demand for in-game assets. And yeah, so basically, right, like you see at the gameplay level, right, like trying to encourage this group PvP, and then having this like complex crafting economy, kind of attacking it from both angles may be necessary.
Yeah, that's what you've seen with games like ecosystems, economies like EVE Online. Like the war of things is what's keeping it,
exactly
going.
EVE Online, Diablo 2, RuneScape. These are the right playbooks or the case studies for these really long-lasting kind of complex game economies. I would say the CS:GO in some ways, but I still see it as primarily just a little bit more simplistic of a skin-based economy compared to, these things like D2 uh, RuneScape.
Another thing that you can probably add there, Jiho, is Guild Wars 2. I think they have
Mm,
a pretty good loop in their economy where you have those legendary and they have like really interesting PvP that you can flex your, you know, legendary weapons on. So
I never played Guild Wars because I was like, wow. I like played WoW and then got banned from playing MMOs like by my family for a while.
oh dear.
So
Yeah, yeah. A lot of components here. I was just thinking, like, Atia's legacy essentially is the kiln, and we have opportunity for all these other aspects. You know, the materials, the technician who's in charge of orchestrating the outcome, and then thereafter what happens with the produce. And Atia's legacy essentially is going to unify a lot of these processes. I think just from the playtest alone, it's very easy to overlook and be like, oh, here they go, announcing another thing. It's just a little combat game or whatever. But the broader picture, the bigger picture, really, if you take in what is happening right now and where the vision actually is set, upon accomplishing that vision, I think Axie is the next fucking Axie. Like it is so far beyond anything else that exists in this industry. And then this is the important overlap is that broadly in the gaming industry, I really want to see Axie as a pioneer and where humans start unifying this Web3 and gaming, traditional gaming separation. Axie is a bridge to unify that and have influence in both those industries. So, uh, good work, lads. I will say it is very, very, very confident on what we have here and what we are walking towards, together into the future. So,
so I think like one thing maybe to talk about is uh, what can people expect? Like we said in the last Lunassian Lounge that we basically don't want to like have people kind of waiting as long for the next playtest. So we're like, tell us more about like tell us Cruz more about like the PvP playtest. What are we thinking with that? And we were kind of asking the community, I guess, for ideas on whether they want 1v1 or 3v3 or uh, five one v four,
Free for all.
like
Yeah.
free for, or just free for all. Yeah.
Yeah, so we demoed a little bit of the tech for the PvP. So we have a lot of the systems on how it would work. A lot of what we need to do now is figure out what are the rules of engagement. Like now we've spawned 2 people or up to 6 people in one space. What do they do? Do they just punch each other to death? Is it some sort of like PvPvE where there's also mobs in the space? So a lot of those are still on the table now that we've built the system that you're seeing in playtest 2 to be pretty flexible and modular and scalable. Figuring out exactly what the rules for the PvP is not as complicated. So the PvP release should happen relatively soon, a lot sooner than the gap between playtest 1 and playtest 2. And a lot of it is, hey, instead of us just building out, hey, this like 1v1 duel, we might as well ask everyone, hey, you've played the game, you've seen the combat, you kind of know how this game moves and works. What are interesting ways that we could have a test to make it interesting? So we can build that now and get that going pretty soon.
yeah. How possible is multiple?
Sorry?
How possible is multiple? Like having 1v1 lobbies, but then also the option to do 3v3 at the same time.
We could do it. It'll just take longer. Like each of those things adds costs linearly, so it's not like it'll take months longer. But if it's 1 month to nail down the 1v1 and then 1 month to nail down the free for all, if everyone's like, hey, I actually don't care about 1v1, that's just a little too sweaty for me, and I only care about 3v3 because I want a more mobile like experience. That's great. We'll just do that first. We can test the other ones later, but we want to just be, hey, you guys are on the insider behind the scenes dev path, so you just let us know. From our end, they're all kind of the same. So
from my point of view, I'll be honest. So my option would be the 3v3, and that's strictly down to the fact that, like, at this phase of the development, in a 3v3 scenario, it will inspire interaction across this community and across the ecosystem. people will begin to forge relationships that could be long lasting and expand through this game development. Whereas 1v1 is very secluded, and maybe you won't get those types of interactions. And I think movements, excitement is accentuated when it's collective, right? And we could really see it being a catalyst for people talking about Atia's legacy, people making content together,
Yeah.
and I think the upside becomes greater when there's connectivity. And I think that's the one thing from every experience of the playtest that we've had so far that has, essentially been missing, is the connectivity to feel like you are playing with others.
Yeah, no, that's good feedback. We didn't want to skew the vote with some of our internal directions, but that's cool. I'm glad that you said that.
I can almost see I could see really solid arguments for all of them, right?
Yeah.
1v1 is just like, let's just try PvP. It's probably going to be like smooth. Let's just see if we like fighting each other, right? Keep it quick, simple, and dirty to validate the idea of us attacking each other versus mobs, right? 5v, what is it? And then the free-for-all is just like, yo, it's not too complex. Like, we're going to also be able to test fighting each other, but we won't have to like have the complexity of like looking for groups, right? Everyone will get to participate. It might be the easiest for queue liquidity for testing. So let's go with that. And then 3v3, right? I think is like, it leans into Batronke's comment where it's like, okay, that might be a little bit more complex, but that complexity is actually formed from social interaction, right? Oh, like we now need to go out and find people to queue with or whatever. We need to like get people to queue at the same time. We need to challenge people. Oh, like maybe that complexity is actually engagement. Right?
An additional layer that I'm thinking. I'm thinking about this on a perspective of caster, right? I do cast a lot of Axie games and all of that, and I'm thinking about 3v3 and then having tournaments around them. Guilds.
Does that just mean that Theban would be like
it's gonna be sweaty?
It'll be back for real, bro. So back. Yeah, but no, to be honest,
the thing is, right? He was so good at these games that were outside of this genre, right? But 3v3 Axies running around killing each other, like there's probably no way that we could do anything against him.
Yep. Well, I'm sure he'd be excited to tune into this later and find out that this is a prospect is on the table. So, but yeah, there's many directions. I honestly overlooked the complexity of like queue liquidity, those things that are fundamentally important for experience. There have been games in the past that are really great games, but those elements in this industry were what let it down and cause capitulation in some forms. So definitely things to consider, and the others add strengths in areas where there is a weakness with the 3v3. But then even beyond that, like how far could this thing go? Like if PvP playtesting goes really well and people love fighting against each other and it becomes like one of the die-hard loops for the participants right now, and one thing that attracts more participants, then like how far can we go with PvP? Like game modes, do we get more complexity development down the line? Like if you guys get a good signal from PvP, will it be a major focus?
Yeah, honestly, like again, so many boons of working in community, right? Where like if that happens, where we launch PvP and people are like, actually, this is all I need. Like, ship me a PvP game, I'm good for the next year. Great. I'm glad that we didn't build out the rest of the game so we can go test that out. We can spin up another team to build it in parallel. Like there's so many paths forward that we can make a lot of the cool economic loops make sense with different game genres. Alternatively, we're like, hey, actually PvP kind of sucks for a lot of these different reasons. It's not interesting to cast, it's not interesting to play. Great. I'm glad we didn't spend more than like a month or two to work on it. Let's move on to other more interesting gameplay features. So like really we're at like branching, forking paths in the timeline where we could do so much and anything, and the game we have is almost like we're almost doing UGC collectively, where we have this this foundation of game, but from here it's like, what do people want? What do you think people make sense from a gameplay perspective, from an economy perspective, and we can do that. So yeah, really, yeah, it's really just like what are people's appetites for these things will determine what we feed them.
And this is what I think is killer right now. It's so important to be able to communicate this. I think one thing that really needs to be communicated is actually the strength at hand at Sky Mavis, what you guys are capable of, so that the imagination, the requests, the feedback can be in line with what is deliverable. I think that's really important to communicate, and I think we've done a great job doing that today. And then also just communicating, you know, how fluid that this development is, like how much impact you guys, the community, people listening to this show right now, people playing the game and in the discords, and how influential you guys really are to the development of this game. So after today, do not think that your feedback goes unnoticed. At this point, I'll turn towards Dojo, the web page itself. Feedback is available there. Link your Discord. There is an entire form to fill out of feedback. It's actually quite personalized to your experience as well. I actually went through this today, and I was I was impressed, right, by this data collection on people's individual feedback. So if you have played the game, this is a point where I express to you, openly go and fill this feedback form out. You know, how far we go, how far Axie goes and Atia's legacy, the game goes, is in our hands greatly, right? And, you know, we can hear the capabilities that Sky Mavis have. Really, really impressed, Cruz. Thank you for coming through today. G-Host, always an amazing time when you come on the show. A little leak we did touch. This is Dojo. This is Jatster leading the dev on this. We are organizing for him to be on the show later this week. We'll be back on Thursday, so we can elaborate a little bit more. There's a lot of conversation directions I wanted to go down, G-Host, when you mentioned it. I won't lie, about AI capabilities, AI working within Sky Mavis, allowing people's ideas to become reality in a more sophisticated way with development possibilities. But
Dude, you can make anything, man. I made a banana honey powered coffee pre-workout brand like in 10 minutes the other day, and you know,
What?
ready to go. Like you can do anything you can do anything you type, you can do anything you set your mind to now. And you know, yes, and Jasper is like a really good person to talk to because he's been pretty early, relatively early, like, you know, before OpenClaw came out, he was already kind of on the train, on the hype train, experimenting. So yeah, that's a hype episode.
Yeah, looking forward to it. But again, guys, thank you for being here. We always appreciate it. Always love putting these shows on for the community as well. Hope you guys got something from it. Any last words from either of you guys?
Keep playing. Keep letting us know how you want the future to Axie to build. We're building together. Just like Gio mentioned, our capacity to build is maybe 20x than it was last year. So just keep hoping, keep having these dream sessions, and I think we can do a lot more than when we work together like this.
Absolutely. Well, guys, that is it. That is it, bro. Salute to you both. Keep playing Atia's legacy. Keep submitting your feedback. The dream is as big as you want it to be. And thank you guys for tuning in today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. And the thing, you know, I think like the new updates should be going live pretty soon. So.
Hell yeah. And if you want, desktop is now available. Also, go and grab that. If you have been moaning about your hand turning to molten lava, then you have a PC for it, bro.
It's a feature. We added that as a feature for everyone.
Yeah.
It's a built-in heater.
Colder climate.
Yeah. I'm in Canada. It gets cold, so it's for me actually.
Game plus hand warmer. Never heard of it. It's
all right. Thanks, guys.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Oh boy,
that was good.
I'm gassed, you know. Sorry. That Ronke is fucking gassed, bro. Because I think we're on the path, man. We are in a space right now that's so overlooked. Like when the spotlight isn't here, and normally the best building goes down when that pressure is on for internally. Like the pressure is on for us, like Axie community. We need something, right? And this space needs something, right? But the focus isn't quite there yet. And I think we definitely have all of the components in place to build something that can really surprise the world, man. Shock the world.
Yeah,
I'm using Geo's quotes.
that conversation really gave a lot of direction in terms of like where we're going.
Well, I
Like,
thought you said erection, bro. I'm not gonna hold you. I really did, brother. I did. But yo,
I'm not
actually.
using-
Round of applause for you, bro. First Rolling Radio. It's a big show. I really appreciate having you here, bro. Honestly, so hope you continue to join us, man.
Yeah, no worries, man. I'm gonna be here for the next ones as well. By the way, for those that are interested in playing Atia's Legacy, you guys can drop by the Axie Discord. I believe ET is still throwing some codes out, and if you don't have any reason right now to play Atia's Legacy, there is 1,000 BAXS that is up for grabs for the top of the leaderboard. So if you are top 1, I think there is 270 BAXS that you can take home if you get that fastest time on the dungeon. So
Oh yeah,
that's
not
a
gonna
good.
be me. It's not gonna be Batrock here up there, bro. Don't worry about it. So it's all for you guys, bro. Go and get it done. Honestly, if you haven't played Atia's Legacy and you're watching this stream right now, you're somewhere involved in crypto gaming. You gotta go get hands on, bro. Otherwise, don't fucking talk to me. Either way, we'll be back on Thursday, like you heard. Just a potential guest there. A lot of interesting conversation. If you're interested in AI, in co-piloting agents, if you're interested in the development of Atia's Legacy, what is capable from the AI assistance of that, Jatster is that fucking guy for it, bro. Honestly, what I've seen this man put together over the last few months, and really
It's so
compound
fucking
into
clean,
that
right?
vision.
It's so
Yeah,
fucking
he's
clean.
fucking cooking, bro. So great episode that will be. So I hope you'll join us again. But thank you for tuning in today. We appreciate you. And honestly, Mr. Boomy, let's get us the fuck out of here. Also, why not just make my voice deeper, bro? Just
You know what I'm saying? Thank you for coming, you fucking cunts. I love all of you. I'll see you again sometime soon. That wrong.
Peace. All right, we.
Not a chance that I can't hear any of you fuckers right now, and you actually are.
Oh, shut up!